This year, I decided that October's Halloween theme can't be complete without reviewing a Resident Evil game. And why not start with the original game? Resident Evil has plenty of horror-themed things. A big, spooky mansion, a character running around in said mansion all by their lonesome, a shortage of ammo and weaponry, big-ass spiders that shoot acid at you, and of course, zombies. Lots and lots of zombies. Yep, it's a horror-themed game, alright. Usually, when people think of the birth of the survival horror genre, they think of either Resident Evil or Silent Hill. They both have vastly different scare mechanics. Resident Evil goes for boo scary. Silent Hill goes for the psychologically scary, which it just gets in your head. Each has their uses, but wait, why the hell am I talking about different types of horror? I'm starting to get off track here. Anyway, the story of Resident Evil follows two members of the STARS team, Jill Valentine and Chris Redfield. Prior to their involvement, a squad of STARS members were sent to the Raccoon Forest to investigate reports of packs of dogs attacking people. When their communication was severed, a second squad was sent in. That's where Chris and Jill come in. The game actually starts with a cool but B-movie style live-action video where the squad finds a corpse and are subsequently attacked by rabid dogs. They retreat into the huge, creepy mansion, and the game begins. You do get to choose who you wish to play as. Each character has a slightly different story arc, but all the areas are the same. The biggest difference is the shift in dialogue and where items may be found. Chris also starts exploring a different area than Jill does. However, the biggest difference that I noticed was that Jill was able to hold 8 items at a time, whereas Chris was only able to carry 6. Jill also gets access to a lockpick, whereas Chris needs to use keys to unlock things like locked drawers. Let me just throw out on the table too. This game is known for having some of the worst voice acting in the world. And it's not just the voiceovers. Even an opening newspaper has bizarre misspelled. That's just getting the game off on the right foot. Anyway, instead of talking about the bad voice acting, let me just play a few scenes here.
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life. But Barry, didn't you say you're going back to the dining room to do some research? Why on earth are you here?
I just had something I wanted to check. Now, let's get back to searching for the lost captain and Chris, shall we?
Captain Wesker, where's Chris?
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is...
What is it?
Maybe it's Chris. Now, Jill, can you go?
I'm going with you. Chris is our old partner, you know.
Okay, let me handle this.
Wesker! Help me look for him, Jill. And don't leave this hall for the time being. Find anything, Jill?
Nothing. What is this all about? I can't figure it out at all.
Beats me, too.
Now it's Wesker's time to disappear. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it can't be helped. Let's search for him separately. I'll check the dining room again.
Okay, I'll try the door on the opposite side.
This mansion is gigantic. We could get into trouble if we get lost. We should start from the first floor, okay? And Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Here's the serum. Richard, hold on. I'll give you a shot now.
Jill, here's my radio. You should keep it. I'm...
No! Richard!
Jill, be careful.
Whoa! What is it?
What? Oh! Oh no! Sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
You must be from the Bravo team.
It's me, Chris.
Is that you, Rebecca?
It's the Moonlight Sonata.
Can you play?
Let's move on before our heads explode by trying to think too heavily on what you just heard. We'll just get to the gameplay that you're introduced to. It does take a bit of getting used to. Instead of having a free-moving camera like many other action games, Resident Evil takes a different approach. Cameras remain stationary, and your character moves around these still images. Because of this style, the graphics are actually pretty impressive and contain some beautiful detail to them. In order to actually move your character around, you press up to move forward, down to move backwards, and left or right to turn in that direction. As I said, it may be a bit challenging to get the hang of, but once you do it, it will feel like second nature. So moving itself is fairly simple. The shooting can be the part of the game that can be a bit troublesome, even when you know what you're doing. Basically, you just press R1 to ready your weapon, and then X to fire. Chris and Jill can't move while attacking, so you'll be rooted into one point while firing. The catch to this is that, obviously, evading attacks can be a bit of a test of skill. What makes this even worse is that if you're at the edge of a screen, sometimes aiming your pistol forces your character to the next screen, making it impossible to see what you're firing at. In addition to this, zombies may be simple to kill because they're slow, but what about the quicker dogs and hunters? These bastards run around, and if they move past you, you'll have to either turn your aim manually or drop your weapon and press R1 again to auto-aim towards the nearest threat. Oftentimes, especially against hunters, it's nearly impossible to kill the quicker enemies without being damaged at least a little bit yourself. You may think, well, just run around a little bit to get a bit of distance. But if you do so, a lot of times the enemies will close the distance by the time you manage to bring up your weapon. Because of this, you may want to keep some healing herbs on you at all times. Speaking of herbs, how about I mention those? They function as your recovery item. Apparently, these herbs grow all around Raccoon City, which is the setting of the game. They come in 3 different colored varieties. The green ones are the most plentiful and act as your basic recovery tool, and are also the only ones that can be used on their own. The blue ones will cure any sort of poison you may have gotten. The red ones will fully heal your health. The blue and red herbs must be combined with the green ones to be ingested. You can also combine 2 green herbs to make the basic herb a bit more potent. Eventually, you can mix and match as needed to get the desired result. There is another healing item that you can find that takes the form of a first aid spray. How it works, I don't know, but it's rare and completely restores your health. From what I understand, it still doesn't cure poison though. I've actually never used them in any Resident Evil game. Instead, just stick with the herbs. What are these mysterious medicinal herbs? I'm sure we can all think of something. Anyway, let me talk about the combining a bit. It's another essential feature that is necessary in a few segments of the game. You can try to combine items that are in your inventory to create or enhance other items. Normally, you'll be using this to create more powerful herb combinations and also reload your weapons. But every once in a while, you'll need to create something new. There's a puzzle about midway through the game where you're forced to create a few chemical compounds by mixing ingredients together. There are clues on walls and in a book you can find, and by paying attention to these, you can create a chemical that can make a boss fight a bit easier. Another thing that you have to do occasionally is examine items in further detail. Again, it's not used a lot, but when it comes to the mansion keys, you need to flip them around to see what emblem is contained on them. With all this additional stuff that you have to do to proceed through the game, it is helpful to keep a small notebook nearby. I'm not one who enjoys looking at walkthroughs or FAQs to figure out where to go, especially in games like this where you're supposed to use your brain, so I actually wrote down where the locked doors were and anything that looked important. This reduced any time needed to run around trying to figure out which door contained the lock for the key I had, and time needed to backtrack to reread something I saw on a wall. There is also a map in the game, and I used it a lot. The game automatically keeps track of all the rooms you've already explored, but you can also find maps of the areas that you can use to figure out where rooms are that you're missing. There is a bit of assistance that you can get so you can carry important items without filling up your limited inventory. These come in the form of item boxes. These boxes are in strategically placed spaces, typically along with typewriters that save your game. These boxes are somehow connected so that anything you place in them remains in them, no matter which box you search. For example, if you put a shotgun in an item box in room A, when you reach room B you can procure the shotgun out of the item box in there. With this you can store unnecessary items and then get them when you need them, since you can't really throw anything away. The only exception to this are the keys you find, as the game will ask you if you want to discard the key when you unlocked everything possible with it. There's really no need to keep these keys, so you should really get rid of them when they ask you to. You may have noticed that every time you enter a new room, you get a little animation of a door slowly opening. There's actually a reason for this, which I've read about a few weeks ago. This is actually done so that the next room can load. Instead of showing constant loading screens, Capcom decided to go with the simple door opening animations. It seems to work great, because it just adds to the atmosphere. There's only really 3 different areas that you'll encounter while playing Resident Evil. The first is the mansion itself, in which the majority of the game takes place. The second area is the garden area, which is where you'll mainly encounter a few experiments that were being worked on, like spiders, snakes, and a zombie shark. This area is fairly short, but you'll be making return trips. The third and final area is a laboratory, where the game's plot starts to come together and everything starts to make sense. Relax, I'm not going to spoil it for you. In addition to the cutscenes with bad voice acting, you'll also encounter a few journals and notes. These notes help add more content to the story. Sometimes you'll need to read them and get hints on how to solve a puzzle, but most of the time they're just there for the story. You should definitely read them though, because it adds to the immersion. Resident Evil is definitely worth the time. Sure, you'll groan at the voiceovers, or maybe you'll laugh, but they really do help add to the whole B-movie feel. It was a great start to a great series. Sure, if you want to play really scary games, play the Silent Hill games. But this one will do the job if you just like a simple horror game. Final score? 8 out of 10. This is Reaper, on Facebook at facebook.com/ReapersReviews. Happy fragging.